Catus, Maximus here. This is a little review. These are both comparison of both American-made Craftsman little 4-inch. Actually, these are more like 5-inch ignition pliers, is what they're colloquially known as. Just really small channel lock or slip joint type pliers. These have an angle lock, or angled head, I should say. So they're kind of like channel locks, but they aren't tongue and groove. The big difference is the newer Craftsmans, these WFX 46393, are still American made, but we can see, laser etching instead of stamping. The handles are just more of a basic curve, where they have this kind of interesting ridge and then flare out a little bit on the older ones. And the newer ones actually, I think, are, the tips are a little bit thinner, so technically they'll get into some tighter areas, I suppose, than the older ones, but they just don't, there's just not as much material there. And the biggest difference that caught my eye was the fact that here they have double lobes. So these work like slip joint pliers. There's a bolt here that has 2 flats on it, so you twist them at a certain angle and the flats will glide past that narrow section. And then as you turn the handle, the wide sections will actually sit on both of those lobes. And having this figure 8 pattern means that you have 2 lobes where it's sitting against, or on this one, it's only sitting against 1 lobe. These are just not going to be quite as strong as these older school Craftsmans, plus these older school ones just have a little bit nicer handle shape. So that's really the whole purpose of this video, is to show, in this situation, once again, a newer tool is actually not quite as nice as an older tool. And not just like materials, but just care of manufacturing. I mean, the handle shape isn't quite as good on the new ones. I mean, we can see how thin this back bar is on this newer one, where it's even a little bit thicker on this. And of course, it uses 2 support lobes versus 1 on the newer, the Craftsman doesn't make these in USA, any of these in USA anymore, but nonetheless, it's when they started to get just a little bit cheaper. And so that was just kind of the interesting point, as I thought, I already have a set of these Craftsmans, but I kind of noticed this distinctive ridge in the handle. I thought, that isn't like the ones that I currently have, and sure enough, these older ones I think are a little bit better. As far as better is concerned, I think they're both better than the Proto. I never liked the Protos because they have this super thin and extra short. They're a slip joint style, but it's just like really under-engineered right there. Protos actually, I think, are some of the worst. We have another similar style, these PNCs, which are extra thin, and that's really their claim to fame, is even versus these older Craftsmans, we can see the jaws are really narrow and the head just a little bit stubbier. These PNCs, their big advantage is exactly that. They have the absolute thinnest head of any of these ignition pliers I've ever seen, bar none. They're absolutely the smallest, and they are certainly easy to break, but they will get into places and grab little wire connectors and jumpers on computer motherboards and things like that, like none of these others will. As far as why I consider to be really nice ignition pliers, we of course have our channel locks, these are a little bit stiff, but are indeed genuine tongue and groove on the channel locks. It's a nice big, thick, long slip bar. We of course have the old diamond tools ones, which I need to loosen up. Once again, they are also true tongue and groove, which are nice, with actually a really long slip bar. You have to open these things all the way up to be able to adjust them. But what it means is that you have this really wide motion. Really do like these old diamond ones. Both of these are superior to any of these other ones up here. These are some German-made stall wheels. These are a little bit thicker and heavier duty, but that's kind of the whole point to these. Although this little tab, it's forged in there, so it's pretty decent. Maybe not quite as thick as on the Dymaloys, but nonetheless, these are still some pretty heavy duty, I would say a little bit extra thick ignition pliers. So comparing all those, these Craftsmans and Protos actually end up at the bottom of the list. These Craftsmans actually are at least the older stamped ones, aren't really that bad. I wouldn't say they're among the best, but they're definitely middle of the road. And I kind of like doing little comparison videos of how tools change over time. Anyway, appreciate everybody who's been watching.